Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I have been documenting my recovery from a midfoot fusion and bone graft on July 30th, 2024 to treat a Lisfranc dislocation. I am hoping to help other people have some idea what to expect if they have a midfoot fusion or a Lisfranc injury, and I hope that some of my videos might help. This video is about weeks 7 and 8 after my surgery. If following my surgery recovery is interesting to you, or if you would like to check out any of my other videos, please check out my channel and subscribe. Thursday, September 12th, 2024, day 44 after the surgery. I went to Joann Fabrics with my mom, which was a lot of fun. This is the first shopping trip that I took after my surgery, and this was also my first real trip out of either my house or my parents' house other than for doctor's appointments. I got felt to make bunny ears, and my mom and I looked at cloth for Gandalf the White costume that I am working on. We also sat down for a bit to look at sewing patterns so that I could rest my foot and have it elevated for a bit. We did this a couple of times while we were there because the pressure that I have to put on my lower leg while using the knee scooter aggravates my knee and foot after a while. After I got home, my foot and lower leg and knee were still hurting pretty terribly about 4 hours later. However, it was so worth it to get out of the house for a couple of hours. It was surprisingly easy to get into and around Joann Fabrics with a knee scooter. Sunday, September 15th, 2024, day 46 after the surgery. I was able to sleep without the walking boot on the night before for the first time. I was finally not too nervous about sleeping without it, and it had been getting really hard to fall asleep with the walking boot on because it always seemed to press painfully against my foot in some way no matter what position I was in. I was able to sleep really well without the boot on, and I had my foot wrapped in an ace bandage and didn't do anything terrible to my foot while sleeping. Remember to stay hydrated. Rawr, matey. I've been feeling a little discouraged the past couple of days because it's almost 7 weeks since my foot surgery, and I still can't put weight on it, and just everything takes so much longer to do when you have to use knee scooters and crutches. And obviously it's great that we have these things, and I am really lucky to have the people that I have in my life helping me out. So I say this realizing that there's a lot of people who are not as lucky as I am, but I have been having difficulty functioning with the injuries for so long before I had the surgery that it's just starting to feel really long. And I keep telling myself that this is short term and it is not permanent, it's not forever. But it's just been a discouraging couple of days. Monday, September 16th, 2024, day 48 after my surgery. I saw the surgeon for my follow-up and got x-rays, which were looking good. I had partial fusion of the 2 joints in my midfoot that had been fused, so there was still more bone fusion to go, but they said that it was looking good enough to start working towards walking. The surgeon recommended using the crutches as I started working towards weight bearing. He said that I could try walking around the house, but that if it was too painful or uncomfortable to go back to the crutches and do partial weight. He said that I should do physical therapy 2 to 3 times a week, which was going to be a lot, and I felt a little bit bad for my mom, who was most likely going to be the one who would be having to do the driving since it was my driving foot, and I would not be able to be driving myself, but I knew that at the same time my mom would be very happy to do it because this was going to be a necessary part of my recovery. I would be doing mostly range of motion for the first few weeks since my scar was still an open wound. The doctor did not want me to be putting too much weight on my foot and too much strengthening at the beginning. All of the pain that I had been feeling so far after the surgery, including the numbness, burning, stabbing, everything was all normal. The doctor did not seem to think that I had neuropathy, but he did say to bring it up again the next time that I saw him. I was concerned since I had lost feeling a while before the surgery, but he did say that it was normal for the type of surgery and type of injury that I had had. I also spoke with the surgeon about the fact that my scar was still an open wound, that it felt like it was taking a very long time to heal. He recommended a wet to dry treatment, which I was only able to tolerate for a few days because it made the wound feel so painfully dry that I was not able to tolerate it for very long. It did work pretty effectively for the first 2 nights in helping with the debridement. It pulled out quite a bit of stuff, and so for the amount of time that I was able to tolerate it, it did help quite a bit. And then afterwards, my sister, who works as a nurse, was able to help me continue working on less painful ways of debridement to work on that open wound and scar, and also ways that don't pull out the healthy tissues in addition to the dead tissue. My foot, for the first time since the surgery, feels really cold from the ice.
Nice.
That's never happened before.
I'm wondering if all the moving around has gotten some nerves back how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, my foot actually feels very cold now.
Nice.
Yeah. Thursday, September 19th, 2024, day 51 after my surgery. My big toe was finally able to straighten out on its own, which helped a lot with pain and discomfort now that it wasn't permanently curled. It still wasn't completely straightened, but it was better than before. I think the fact that I was able to do partial weight bearing was helping with being able to straighten out that toe. I was still getting burning, stinging, and stabbing pains. My foot was also still tingling a lot. I still couldn't have my foot down for longer than 30 minutes at a time, or else my foot would start swelling up quite a bit. I was unable to leave the house often still because my foot and ankle would be in so much pain that I still couldn't move around the house much for a full day afterwards, and my foot would get really swollen in addition to having intense pain up to my knee. Friday, September 20th, 2024, day 52 after the surgery. I was continuing to struggle with the scar healing very slowly. I did the wet to dry bandaging that the surgeon had recommended for the mechanical debridement of the scar, but after a few days, my scar and foot began to feel very painfully dry from the treatment, as I had mentioned before. Aunt Helen helped me find a few other options, and I ordered a triad cream on Amazon that had good reviews to help with cleaning dead tissue out of the scar. While waiting for the triad cream to come in the mail, I went back to using the Medi Honey all the time and began using a silicone island dressing, which Matt calls Hawaiian punch dressing. It is sticky on one side and goes over the scar to help pull out dead tissue. My mom stopped by with my dad and they gave me some supplies that Aunt Helen had gotten me. She gave me some Debris Soft lollies and Debris Soft pads to help clean the wound and to help the scar close. Her instructions were to wet it with either the saline or Vosh solution and then to rub aggressively to help the yellow stuff peel off. Her exact words were, "It will definitely bleed a little bit, but that's okay." She said that I should do it every 3 to 4 days, and if there were any edges that peel up in the middle portion that are still adhered, that I could clip off the edges that were hanging off, but that I did not want to peel off the center portion. She said that I could call or FaceTime if I needed any help. I ended up being able to do it myself pretty easily in the shower that night with the Vosh, and I got quite a bit cleaned out of the wound. I was actually very proud of myself. Matt and I were watching a friend's dog for part of the weekend, and the dog was dropped off that evening. He wanted to be taken out once Matt was out, and that was a bit dicey while I was on the crutches. He had been taken out just before, but then wanted to go out again. The dog was a great companion while Matt was out with his friends for a few hours. He was super well behaved, and he was super aware of the fact that my foot was injured, and so he just stayed very clear of just the whole right side of my body while everybody else was out of the house. Saturday, September 21st, 2024, day 53 after the surgery. Matt and I were continuing to have a great time watching our friend's dog. We walked him down to the park that's just down the street, not even a block away, and I was able to go with them on the crutches. I sat down on one of the benches for a couple of breaks so I could elevate my foot. My foot, ankle, and calf muscles were sore for a couple of hours after, and I had a burning pain in my midfoot and big toe, but it felt great to be moving around outside, but especially because the weather was super nice. It was easier than I thought it would be, but that length of walk was definitely my limit. We were out for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I also noticed that day my scar was finally starting to look a little bit improved with all of the treatments that we had been trying to get the wound to start closing. Sunday, September 22nd, 2024, day 54 after the surgery. Matt drove us to Bean Through, my favorite coffee shop, to pick up ground coffee, and we also bought ourselves some iced coffees. I hadn't gone to Bean Through in about 2 months and was super excited to finally get to go go again. We went grocery shopping afterwards to pick up a few things, and I used one of their electric wheelchairs. It took me a minute to figure out how to use it, but it ended up being really fun zipping around the store. On my way out, I wasn't really sure how I was going to park it because I was going to need to back up while turning near the entrance where people were coming in and leaving, but thankfully someone else was coming in and needed it, so I ended up not having to worry about it. As I got up with my crutches, she saw my walking boot and said, "I see you've got the boot." I had one for a year and I hated it. They hurt so much. I told her I have it off as much as possible at home. I wasn't sure what she had done to need a walking boot for a whole year, and I sure felt a whole lot of empathy for her because when she said that it hurts, she wasn't wrong. It sure does get very uncomfortable, especially when you have to have it on for a long period of time. My foot and ankle were still pretty sore overall, and I was still getting shooting, stabbing, and burning pains. I was also getting a lot of tingling, but it was less intense than before, and it was slowly getting easier to move around while partial weight bearing with the crutches. I was able to make dinner that day, which for me was really exciting. It seemed like a sign that I was making definite improvements. The triad paste that I had ordered on Amazon for the debridement of the wound on my foot finally arrived in the mail, and I was very excited. I was really hoping that that was going to help with the debridement. Monday, September 23rd, 2024, day 55 after the surgery. I had my first physical therapy session. The surgeon wanted only range of motion exercises for the time being, especially with the scar still being an open wound. The physical therapist did an assessment and said that my range of motion was pretty good, and I was given a printout with the images of the exercises that I should be doing at home. My foot was very sore after physical therapy, but it wasn't painful, which I was very surprised by. I had been expecting it to be super painful. I asked if it was all right to start walking without the crutches at home, but I was told that for the time being it was better to continue using my crutches, although if I wanted to try a few steps here and there without the crutches, that I could give it a try just to see how it went.